Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's been a really long time since I've done one of these sit-down videos, and there's a lot of new faces around, so I thought that it would be a good time to do another Q&A little video. I recently was listening to a podcast all about how we save like our nicest things for special occasions, and this girl whose podcast I was listening to was saying how she started using her wine glasses to just drink flavored water from, and I was like, yes. So I have been really into drinking my daily glass of ginger ale with a big cube of ice in this little cup, and I especially love doing this when I am cooking. I don't know, I just feel like a sophisticated girly when I do that and I really like it. So here is my little glass of ginger ale for today's video. The second random thing I wanted to share is that I got my haircut recently, and at first I was not feeling these layers. A bit of a mental breakdown. It was one of those moments where they ask you like, oh, do you like it? And you're like, yeah, I love it. And then I came home and I cried to my husband, which sounds dramatic now that I say it out loud, but it was a huge difference. My hair was like down like to here, and now it's not short, but it is short compared to what I had before. And I've been growing out my natural color for like 2.5, 3 years now. So my hair is dark, but this is just like, yeah, my natural color. And then I have these kind of like face framing layers, and yeah, I have to say it's grown on me. I'm now a fan of it, but I wasn't loving it to begin with, but it's okay. We're over it now. The last thing I wanted to show you guys was that I recently got back my bouquet from our wedding, and it is in this beautiful like vinyl kind of plate. We dried my flowers for, these were white roses, and they dried yellow because that's just what happens when you dry flowers, but we dried my flowers for I want to say like 2 months. And then we were able to make these, and actually this was my really lovely neighbor Bill who made these. They are now back in Texas, so they're no longer here, but huge shout out to them because they just helped us so much with our wedding, and this was one of the things they made for me, and I'm just so in love with it. I like it so much. So I'm just gonna do like a rapid fire general introduction for any of you who are new here. Hi, I'm Sofia. I'm 28 years old. I'm living in Cascais, Portugal, and I am Portuguese. I am happily married to my husband who is Dutch, and we have 2 little dogs, Benji and Theo. I also have a bachelor in law and a master's in communication, and I currently do freelance work in marketing, and I do a lot of social media management, email marketing, all that good stuff. Something else about me that you probably know by looking at my channel in general is that we love traveling. It's just something that feeds my soul. It's just my happy place. I'm gonna try to answer these as quick as possible so this video is not like super long. But the first question is, how did we meet? We actually met on a dating app. We met on Hinge. We met back in 2019, I think, and it was just one of those things that we met in person, we instantly clicked, and yeah, the rest is history. How do we fight / how do we handle fights? I want to say that this is something that we've gotten really good at, not fighting, but just like the way that we fight. I feel like in the beginning it was a lot different because when we first started dating, so 3 months into us dating, COVID happened, and so we were kind of forced to decide between like basically not seeing each other at all, because at that time I lived in the Netherlands and he lived in Belgium, and even though we were only 1 hour apart, there was a border and borders were closed, so we couldn't see each other. And we decided to move in together at 3 months of dating, which was a lot. And so I want to say like we clashed quite a bit in the beginning, and we didn't have our personal space, which meant that sometimes we were very irritable. You couldn't really go anywhere or do anything. And so we kind of got like those nastier fighting habits out of the way really early on. We're in no means perfect. We definitely fight. I don't think we fight often. I think my 2 biggest tips when it comes to, you know, like healthy fighting in a relationship is 1, learning to say how you feel instead of accusing the other person. So for example, I asked my husband to do the dishes and he didn't do it, right? That's not something that happens, but let's imagine that. Instead of going up to him and being like, you didn't do the dishes, you didn't do this, then what I do is go like, hey, you know, like it really messes me up when I try to go into the kitchen and make breakfast and the pan I wanted to use is not washed. It just kind of makes it really hard for me to start my day. And saying it like that is a lot less like accusatory, and it makes the person a lot more receptive to listening to you. And the second thing is being okay with going to sleep angry. being okay with needing space, not needing to resolve things immediately. I think that in the beginning we kind of followed the advice of like, oh, don't go to sleep angry, and so we'd stay up until like 3 in the morning trying to talk something out. It's just not sustainable, and sometimes you're just tired, you know, like sometimes 2 a.m. is not the best time to solve a problem. And so we found that just kind of like agreeing to just go to sleep and talk about it tomorrow, like we would wake up the next day and be like, why were we even fighting about this? So those are my biggest takeaways from what I've learned so far. How do you keep the romance alive? This one is a little bit hard for us because we do both work from home, and so there are points in our relationship, like we go through cycles, and I want to say we go through like honeymoon cycles where we're like really into each other, and then we go through like roommate cycles where we kind of coexist, take care of the household tasks, take care of our dogs, and we just fall into like that roommate pattern. And I think my biggest advice there is that when you feel yourself falling into the roommate pattern, actively looking for, you know, moments to have a date, moments to spend quality time. I think that that's pretty much what I do without even thinking about it, is that when I notice that it's been a while that we've been kind of like very cheesy and romantic towards each other, we'll bring back like more frequent dates. Do you work together? We work in the same house. We do not work together. So I have my clients, he has his, but we are working in the same space. Yeah. Don't you ever get tired of each other? Yes and no. It's not necessarily tired of each other. It's more so we don't get to miss each other. I felt that when he did have an office job, at the end of the day, I'd be like missing him, and so I would kind of cherish his presence a lot more. And it's a lot easier to take somebody for granted when they're in the house with you all the time. And so, yeah, I don't think we get tired of each other. It's just sometimes we don't appreciate each other as much because of how present we are in each other's lives. Yeah, I think that's it. What is the secret to maintaining a strong and healthy marriage? I have been married for 7 months, so I don't know that I'm the right person to answer this question. But I think it's just the points I've touched on earlier, kind of just being okay with being human, not expecting your partner to be perfect, not expecting yourself to be perfect, being good at forgiving each other, but also forgiving yourself. I'm really bad at the whole forgiving myself part. So I would honestly say that the secret to a happy, healthy marriage is just being really true to who you are and letting your partner be true to who they are, and kind of trying to find a way to respect and coexist with each other in a way that neither of you has to sacrifice too much of themselves. Do I have any wedding regrets? I don't think so. We were very intentional about our wedding. We did a lot of things that a lot of people, I don't want to say judge us for, but definitely were like, why are you doing it like this? Like we didn't have a first dance because neither of us are dancers and we both hate the attention. So yeah, we didn't do that. Probably not having my mom also walk me down the aisle. My dad walked me down the aisle, and I feel like it's 2024 and I could have had both do it. So maybe if I could go back, I would have asked her to. There are a few people that we didn't invite to our wedding that I wish we had, but when we were sending out the invites, we had just met these people, and so at the time it didn't feel like it made sense, but as we got closer to the wedding, our friendships grew. But you know, you can never guess those things, so it's hard to say it's a regret. I don't know. I don't think I have any wedding regrets, which I guess is a good thing. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing our wedding video, by the way, I will leave it up here in a card. Okay, we're moving on into the baby portion of this video, which was like the most asked amount of questions were about having babies. So, okay. Do we want kids, and if so, how many? Yes, we do want kids. We don't know how many yet. I think the general consensus between us is that we don't want more than 2 because we don't want to be outnumbered. So that's where we're standing as of right now. I also think that 3 involves a lot of, you know, life changes. Like you kind of have to upgrade your car because 3 car seats don't fit anymore. We also don't want to say never, because, you know, what if we go for our second child and have twins? Like twins run in my family, so you never know. But I think the general consensus between us is 2 maximum, maybe just 1. I'm an only child, my husband's one of 5, so we kind of have like both ends of the spectrum, and we also wouldn't mind having an only child. I know that some people are probably gonna come at us for this, but it's just true, and we are very unapologetic about that. So when do we want kids, or when do I want to get pregnant? This is a hard question for me to answer because some of you might have heard me say this already, but I do have PCOS, which I believe stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome, something like that. And so I have very irregular cycles. I know that getting pregnant is not an exact science for like most couples, but it becomes a little bit harder to predict when I would be able to get pregnant in my case. And so I've never been one to be like, oh, I want to get pregnant by this age, or I want to have babies this year. So yeah, we're definitely not trying as of right now. We're proactively preventing it. I don't know when we'd want to change that. We have spoken about it being before I turn 30. I'm 28 right now, which would put it in the near future, but it's not like a hard stop. And the main reason for the whole 30 thing is just because since we don't know if we want to have 2 kids, we want to be able to decide on that second child without any time pressure. Like, I don't want to be, you know, like 38, 39, 40 trying to decide, because then I'm more likely to decide under pressure, and because people are telling me like my odds of getting pregnant are decreasing, things like that. So if anything, that's like the biological part of this is the only thing that would be putting pressure on this. But I mean, if I were to get pregnant tomorrow, we would be happy about it. And if I were to not get pregnant for the next 5 years, I think we'd be very happy with it. So I know that that's a really crappy answer, but it's just where we are right now. Someone asked, I heard you talking about having PCOS. What are your updates? So I actually have a few updates on that. Now doing something called progesterone cycling. My gynecologist put me onto this, and basically what it is I take progesterone pills the first 10 days of every month. After that, my period comes, and then kind of like my cycle resumes as normal. And so the whole idea behind this is that I do this for a little while, and then I stop taking the progesterone pills, and my body should be able to go back to a regular cycle after that. I got off the pill back in 2020, I want to say. I have a few videos on that, like the acne part of it and all of that, so you can check that out on my channel. I don't want to go into much depth on that, but essentially progesterone cycling has been working really well. 2 other things that I love doing are I use natural cycles to take my basal temperature every morning and record it. I bought my own basal thermometer in a pharmacy, and I just use their app, and that's helped me confirm that I am ovulating every month now that I am on progesterone. I combined that with little ovulation strip tests. I know most people just do that when they're trying to get pregnant, but I genuinely wanted to know if I was ovulating just out of curiosity, and this is one of the only ways to detect that, because it's really hard to test for that. And so yeah, those are the things that I'm doing, and so far it's working out very well. So those are my updates. Will you still travel when you have kids? Absolutely. This is like one of my biggest life dreams, is just like traveling with my kids or my kid. It's one of the reasons why we were kind of thinking of spacing out 2 kids if we do have kids, having a kid waiting 4 years and then having another one, just so that we could properly travel a little bit just with 1 child and have 2 adults to 1 baby to make things a little bit easier. And then once we're a little better versed on traveling with children, introducing the 2nd child. Do I think I'll still be a minimalist with kids? Yes, I do. I think that minimalism is going to look very different with children. I've felt that with moving homes. I felt that with having dogs. My version of minimalism changes a lot over the years. Before, I would not be able to fill a bookshelf with books, and now I have a few of the shelves filled with my favorite books. So I think it's all about balance. I definitely think that I'm going to be one of those kinds of moms that's going to encourage outside play a lot. We live next to the beach and a lot of parks, and we work from home, so I'm going to try my best to kind of, you know, encourage a little less toys and better quality toys. I'm definitely not going to be a beige mom, so don't worry about that. Like, I'm all in for plastic colorful toys if my kids want those. I just think that I'm going to try to be as organized as possible, and most importantly, I'm going to try to make these organization systems easy for me and for kids and for my husband to kind of keep up with. So I have no idea how that's going to look like. I don't have kids, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't have any advice for you in that department, but I'm definitely going to give it my best shot, and we'll just see how it goes. Will you show your kids on YouTube / become a family channel? So for now, my answer is definitely no, this will not become a family channel. And also, I don't think that I'm going to be showing my kids on social media in general, but I think that my general approach is going to be private, not secret. I've seen quite a few influencers do this. Amber Fillerup, for example, does an excellent job at this, where she shares a bit of her children's lives and shares updates on her kids, but rarely ever shows their faces on the internet, and I really like that approach. So I definitely think that I might be posting videos on, you know, like the what's in my bag videos that I love to do, probably gonna have baby related things in them because I'll be a mom. The pack with me videos will also have kid things in them because I'll be a mom, but I don't think that the essence of my channel is going to change, in the sense that it's still very much going to be about travel and minimalism. So the next portion of questions are about travel, and the first one is, you travel a lot, how do you pay for it / afford it? I don't like answering this question too much because I hate when people preach about it and like, oh well, if you just save then you can travel. We are very privileged in the sense that our salaries allow us to travel quite a bit. Our rent is not extremely high, so we're able to save quite a bit of money. I also want to make the disclaimer that because we do work from home, it's easier for us to travel a lot more because we can bring work with us. Having said this, something that we definitely do every month is part of our monthly budget is called travel, and we are always putting money aside for travel, even when we don't have an upcoming trip, even when we actually don't know where we want to go next. We put a portion of our incomes every month towards saving for travel, so that when we do have a good idea or we find a good flight deal, we're able to afford it without having to resort to credit or something like that. Two other huge tips for traveling, especially if you're on a budget, is to use resources like booking.com. None of the things I mentioned in this video are sponsored, by the way. But yeah, to use booking.com, because what we usually do is we find accommodation ahead of time and we choose hotels that have free cancellation for flexibility and no prepayment necessary, so that we can kind of take the time we have until the trip and save the hotel amount that we need to save until then. So let's say that in a year we were going to New York again. We're not, but let's say we were. I would book the hotel now with no need for prepayment, and then imagine the hotel is like $2,000 for the time that we're there. Now we have from now until then to put aside those $2,000. So it means that the only upfront costs we have are our flights, and that really helps distribute the weight of our trips. We do the same thing with activities. So we use, for example, Get Your Guide. I do work with them. I am an ambassador for Get Your Guide, but other than that, I was already using their platform for booking activities. It's kind of like booking.com, but for activities, and it also allows you to reserve now and pay later, and it also has free cancellation. So imagine I wanted to do like a hop-on, hop-off bus in New York in a year from now. I would book it already and then only have to pay for it when we go, and this way we would put it into our budget and account for those monthly payments that we'd have to put aside, make sure that that's in there. I don't know if that helps. If you want me to make a video about this, I can definitely give a lot more kind of advice on that later, so just leave me a comment down below. The next question is, what are your travel plans / next big trip? We are going to Mallorca in Spain in 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And I have been, Imano has not been yet, my husband has not been, and I just love Mallorca. I typically don't repeat trips, but I just felt like having like a calmer tropical trip. We've done a lot of city trips lately, and so I was really feeling like that kind of sit by the pool and do nothing type of vacation, and so we booked that. And then right after that, straight from there, we're going to Belgium for Imano's uncle's wedding. After that, we don't have anything formalized, but we really want to go to Texas to visit that friend of ours who made the bouquet of flowers. They've just moved to Texas, and so we really wanted to go visit them, so we're thinking about doing that around October. We're also going to Belgium again in September because it's my sister-in-law and brother-in-law's 30th birthday, so we're gonna go there to celebrate. What is your favorite place you've ever been to? This is a really hard question for me to answer because we've been to such different places that it's like really unfair to compare like a city to a beach destination. The first one I'd say is riding a helicopter over New York City, over Central Park, was definitely a huge highlight. Seeing the skyline in Hong Kong was also huge. Going sandboarding and dune bashing in Qatar, which is a video that I'm going to release very soon. That was also a big one. I don't know, I've loved all our trips so far. So it's hard to say. What is the destination at the top of your bucket list? Another hard question to answer because I don't think I'll rest until I visit every place there is to visit. I want to say that I'm very curious about Zanzibar, Tanzania lately. A lot of the influencers that I love have been there lately. All Aboard family, they're Portuguese family traveling the world. You should follow them. Their content is excellent, but they highly recommend it, so I think it's one of the places that's at the top of my list. I've never been to South America, so I feel like anywhere in South America would be really interesting to me. And then there's like the typical places in Asia that we haven't been that I definitely want to go to. So like Singapore, Bali. I think top of the bucket list is Zanzibar. Do you still get travel anxiety? So if you've been following me for a while, you know that I struggle with anxiety quite a bit. And there was a portion of time where I was really afraid of getting on an airplane. Afraid is not the right word, anxious is the right word. I definitely still get travel anxiety, especially when I'm jet lagged and really tired. My brain will kind of start like doomsdaying away. Something that's helped is definitely just, I feel very safe with my husband. And so traveling with him has calmed down my travel anxiety quite a bit. And also just exposure. Like after COVID, it was really hard for me to get started on traveling again because we hadn't traveled for so long, and then as I started traveling again, it started getting better and better. My travel anxiety has gotten bad to the point where I've had like actual panic attacks on airplanes and like thought I was gonna die. So if you're struggling with travel anxiety, I 100% feel you and know how real it feels and how horrible it is. If you ever want to talk about it, feel free to send me a message on Instagram. I would be happy to share my experience with you. This is my Instagram, by the way. Highly recommend you follow me on there if you don't yet. And yeah. And then I got 2 questions on minimalism. The first is, I haven't seen a lot of minimalism videos lately. Are you still a minimalist? Yes, I just have not been home that much. I've been traveling a lot, so naturally my content has shifted over to travel content, but the 2 main themes of this channel will always be minimalism and travel. And so yes, I'm definitely going to try to post some more videos on minimalism because I've been really into organizing lately. I've been like spring cleaning my entire house. But if you originally followed me because of my minimalism videos, worry not, those will be back, and I'm very much still a minimalist. This is not a question for me necessarily, but it's somebody that was asking for advice. My things seem to keep accumulating. How do you stop that from happening? It's really hard. I bring a lot of things into the house, and so I try to take as many things that I bring into the house out, but that doesn't always work that way. We accumulated a lot of things after our wedding. For some reason, the wedding period was like a lot of things creeped into the house. And so I find that finding time for like really big periodic swoops through the house, I guess is what I want to call them. I think I do like 2 big ones per year where I dedicate like 2 entire days to like going through every drawer, every closet, every nook and cranny, and kind of like filling trash bags and donation bags with things. So that's kind of how I keep it from accumulating. I never let too much time pass between those cleans. If you are at a point where it's been a long time since you've had one of those cleans, my biggest advice to you is to not overwhelm yourself. And so instead of thinking about it like, oh, I'm at point A and I want to get to point B, where point A is a really disorganized house and point B is like this perfect, clean, organized home, try to make in-between steps. And the way this works for me is I'll set really tiny goals. So I'll be like, today I'm going to organize the top drawer of this one closet, and that's all I have to do. And if I feel like doing more, I'll do it, but then there's no pressure to do it. So it just makes it a lot less intimidating. And if you do one at a time, I know that it's going to feel like it's going to take you forever to get where you want to get to, but you will get there eventually, and it'll be so rewarding because you'll start to see that, oh my gosh, like this, I organized this drawer and I actually stayed organized because it has so much less crap inside of it. And that really is the key, like decluttering, not organizing, because if you just organize and the things are still there, the clutter just, you know, the mess comes back. I've already ranted on for longer than I wanted to, but these were the questions I had for you today. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I will very happily answer them for you. And yeah, thank you so much for being around. Don't forget to subscribe and leave me a big thumbs up if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.